UFC Vegas 41, aka UFC Fight Night. Paulo Costa taking on Marvin Vettori. Welcome to the preliminary card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, we are giving you our fight by fight breakdown, fight by fight analysis, specifically from the betting perspective. Here to let you know which fights are worth the value, which fights you want to avoid, which underdog has the best shot at winning, and sticking around to the end of the video, you get some parlay action as well. We see 13 total fights on this card, 7 of those fights on the prelims. So we are going to get right into fight number 1. And in fight number 1, we have Livinha Souza taking on Randa Markos. For this fight, Livinha Souza, she lost her last fight versus Amanda Lemos. That was back in March. Pretty good ground game, of course. We know she has that Olympic level judo. We know she's a BJJ black belt as well. She stays pretty active on top when she does get on top. We see there almost 2.5 takedowns per fight. So definitely uses that to her advantage. Has a lot of toughness. Her stand-up, I wouldn't say is the best, but her toughness definitely makes up for it. She has a decent overhand right, almost Amanda Nunes style, obviously not as effective as Amanda Nunes. Has a pretty good calf kick as well. So decently reliable fighter, 14-3, not too mad at Livinha Souza. For Randa Markos, she lost to Luana Pinheiro. She's on a 4-fight losing streak now. Her job has to be on the line at this point. You see her overall record, more losses than wins. We kind of know Randa Markos at this point, right? She's a one-dimensional fighter. She's going to look to take the game to the ground. She's going to look to use her wrestling to win rounds. The problem with Randa Markos is that she averages, as you see, 1.2 takedowns per fight in a number of UFC fights at only 28% accuracy. So that one specialty that she has, she can't even be too relied on for that specialty. She was exposed against other wrestlers and other grapplers. We think about that Kanako Murata fight with Murata showing better wrestling. We think about that Mackenzie Dern fight. I mean, that's obviously going to speak for itself with Mackenzie Dern as the better grappler in that one. And for Randa Markos, her stand-up is fairly basic. She'll use the jab, but it is easy to pressure her. It is easy to back her up. Ultimately, I think that's what's going to work in Souza's favor. Her aggressiveness, her toughness, even her ground ability. She might even have better ground game than Randa Markos. Not to say better wrestling, but maybe an overall better ground game. Ultimately, the analysis comes as close as this. There's no reason to not like Souza in this fight. I don't see Markos taking over with the wrestling. I don't see Markos having opportunities on the feet. I like Livinha Souza in this one. Actually, I really like these odds at -125. So Livinha Souza is going to be my pick.
Yeah, I'll make this quick. I'm on Livinha Souza's side as well. She has decent grappling. She gets a couple takedowns each fight. She has good jiu-jitsu as well. Randa's a bit one-dimensional, and of course, she's on a 4-fight losing streak. I think this is Souza's fight here. I think she's going to have the better shots from range. I think she's going to have the better shots for the judges. I think this goes to the judges' decision, but I'm going to go Livinha Souza here, having the better striking here, having decent grappling to negate some of what Randa Markos is trying to do. But as the fight goes on, I think it's Souza's fight. So I'm taking Souza, having decent grappling, and obviously the better striker.
Let's move on to fight number 2. We have Jeff Molina taking on Daniel Lacerda. For Jeff Molina, he beat Kiliang Aori. That was back in April. That was actually his UFC debut. He's on an 8-fight win streak at this point. We see his record there at 9 wins, 2 losses. Pretty patient, methodical striker. Good use of the calf kicks, especially early in the fight. Good movement, good timing. Pretty sneaky pop as a counter striker. A lot of fakes, a lot of diversity in his stand-up, switch stance fighter, good lateral movement, especially from him. He's also shown me some ability to wrestle, some ability to grapple, obviously not in the UFC, but just in general. And he can keep going for 3 rounds. His power, his heart, it carries throughout the fight. So he is somebody who could be dangerous at any point within the fight. For Daniel Lacerda, it is his UFC debut. He last fought in July. He's on a 3-fight win streak. We see his record there, 11-1. Of those 11 pro wins, 5 of them are via KO, TKO. 6 of them are via submission. So he is a finisher. from that perspective. From what I've seen, southpaw primarily on the feet, although we do see switch stance indicated there. And I've also seen, good takedown entries. I've seen aggressive ground and pound. I've seen good positional ground control as well. But, really to score against Molina, you're going to have to put good pressuring stand-up against him with those good takedowns. Lacerda technically has that, but Lacerda seems to be a bit more of a go for broke kind of fighter. Of course, as mentioned, with his 100% finish rate. And a lot of those finishes are first round finishes. So how does he hold up in a 3-round fight? How does he hold up in a UFC fight? I don't know if he can keep that up for 3 rounds. Also, one big thing with Daniel Lacerda, if you take a look at the opponents that he's faced, nothing would indicate that he has faced people of a high level. If we just take a look at some of the records, 6-4 was one of the fighters. He faced someone who was 9-2 and he lost. He beat someone 4-2. He beat someone 13-12. He beat someone 20-11. And then of course earlier on he beat some people in 2-0 and 3-0 and things like that. But he doesn't really have strength of schedule to his side either. So for those reasons, I'm going with Jeff Molina. I think he'll be the tougher fighter, the more durable fighter. The fighter that can do it for all 3 rounds. Lacerda might look pretty good in round 1, but I can see Molina taking over in rounds 2 and 3, if not all 3 rounds. So Jeff Molina is going to be my pick. Not too mad at -170 either.
Yeah, this is a fight I'm going to definitely stay away from. When I was looking at Daniel Lacerda, he's definitely dangerous. I know the level of competition isn't the greatest, but he's putting these guys away first round like he's supposed to. Jeff Molina, he's looked good. He had a big war in his last fight against Kaling Aori. He was able to pretty much he had to win that 3rd round. I thought it was a close fight, but he won that round. He won a unanimous decision. This is a tough match, but I think Lacerda is a super live underdog here. He's 11-1. I think he's gonna have the better kicks in this fight. I think he has the power advantage. But as you indicated here, as the fight goes on, Molina has shown he can go 3 rounds. And that's a big thing, is cardio. So again, this is a tough fight for me, but I have to take Jeff Molina because he's been there. He's shown when he needs that round. He came out in the 3rd round in that Aori fight, and he looked good. So his back against the wall. He's shown that he has that heart. And that's a big thing once you get to the UFC level. So I'm going to go Jeff Molina. But again, I'm not comfortable. I'm not confident in this pick. Because I really do think Lacerda is a dangerous fighter here. He's putting guys away in the 1st round, right? So he may be able to go 2nd, 3rd round. I don't know. There's a lot of questions, not a lot of video as well. But I'm going to take Molina here to get this done.
Moving on to fight number 3, we have Khama taking on Jay Herbert. For this fight, Khama, he lost to Jamie Malarkey back in March. We know Khama at this point, pretty explosive striker, good hands, good kicks. Good head movement, good movement in general with the angles, with some in and out ability to counter punch as well. With Khama, I think the biggest asterisk with his ability is his chin. His chin might be a little questionable. 7 of his 8 losses are by KO, TKO. The other one was via submission. So he does get finished. That is something to be a little weary of with Khama, especially when going up against somebody like Jay Herbert. He lost to Renato Moicano in June. Can't be too mad at that. Moicano's a pretty solid fighter. Very bouncy, almost herky-jerky style of stand-up. Very agile, light on the feet. Keeps the jab hand very active. A lot of fake jabs, a lot of touch jabs, jabs at different speeds, long jabs. Definitely uses that and mixes in that sharp straight within that. Both guys, in my opinion, could be a little chinny here. Both guys, in my opinion, rely a bit on that KO, TKO for their victories. I look for Herbert to have the higher activity. I look for Worthy to be the bigger puncher. On the feet, I should say, this fight reminds me a lot of Herbert versus Trinaldo, who of course we'll talk about a little bit later on this card. If you watch that fight a few fights back, hard to rely on either guy, but funny enough, I do trust Jay Herbert a little bit less here. I think he's a little bit more hittable. And I think Worthy, surprisingly, can take a better punch than Jay Herbert. I could be wrong here. but I am looking at potentially a little bit of underdog hunting here. Khama will actually be my pick, but I'm going to say stay away from this fight because this fight ultimately can just simply be about who catches who first. But I think with Jay Herbert being a little bit more hittable, Khama is probably more likely to catch him first. So because of that, I'm going with Khama. Not a confident pick. Obviously, he is the underdog at plus 150. But I think, again, going back to who catches who first, I think Khama is going to catch Jay Herbert first. So Khama is my pick.
Yeah, this is one of those fights that it's tough to really be confident on either side. Both of these guys are unreliable here. Khama got slept by Malarkey. He got slept by Ottman, Azatar. He has a lot of knockouts, losses on his record. So this guy definitely can't take a punch. Going back to 2012, Paul Felder knocked him out. 2012, Billy Quarantillo. 2015, Matt Bassett, Anthony Reddick, Kyle Nelson. All these guys knocked him out. And obviously Ottman, Azatar, and Malarkey. So I think Worthy has the power edge here. I think in this fight, he's definitely the guy that has the more power. But I really believe that Herbert has the more technical striking. I think he's going to be able to piece up Worthy if he can avoid the power. I think this is his fight here. And I actually don't like Worthy's defense. I think that Herbert's going to be able to. I think he's going to be able to outstrike him in this match. He likely will knock him out, in my opinion. I actually like the odds on this fight. But I'm going to go Jay Herbert to get this done. Again, I think this is the easiest fight he's fought in the UFC. He's fought Francisco Trinaldo and Moicano, so this is definitely a step down. And when you look at Herbert, he fought Azatar, who was dangerous, Jamie Malarkey. So it's probably a step down for Worthy as well, but I think it's a bigger step down for Jay Herbert. So I like Jay Herbert. I think he's the better striker. I think he's able to have the better footwork, more technical. This stays standing, unless Worthy utilizes wrestling. I haven't seen much of that. So I like Jay Herbert here to get this done on the feet. That's my pick.
Let's move on to fight number 4. In that case, we have Jamie Pickett taking on Laureano Staropoli. How do you feel about this one?
This is a tough fight here because I look at both guys. I'm not really impressed with either guy in terms of what they can do in the octagon here. I look at Staropoli. He's undersized. He is active enough. He's a decent striker, I guess. But he's fighting a guy who has a 9-inch reach advantage. So this is a fight that you can't really depend on each guy because both of these guys are kind of lower level UFC. But I think when I look at the skills, I think Staropoli is a better fighter. But I think stylistically, I think this is a fight Jamie Pickett can actually win. Having that 9-inch reach, he can wrestle a bit. I don't feel comfortable, but I'm going to go Jamie Pickett, the bigger guy. Hopefully he can get this done here. But again, I'm not going to bet this fight, but I do think the dog has some value here.
Yeah, I think the dog and Jamie Pickett definitely has some value here. The thing with Jamie Pickett, though, and going back to his reliability, we know he should be the quicker striker. But Staropoli, in my opinion, probably could be the better overall striker between the two. Jamie Pickett should also have the wrestling advantage. But I think the biggest, again, asterisk to Jamie Pickett's name is, his cardio concerns and really, asking yourself, how is that going to serve him after round 1? I can see Staropoli's cardio being better. I can see, again, the better overall striking leading him to victory as well, especially in those second and third rounds. But to your point, Jamie Pickett is a dangerous fighter for as long as he's, for as long as his cardio tank lasts. He does have some ability. He has that 9-inch reach advantage. He has a quick, sharp hands. He uses his range. He fights from the outside, uses jabs, uses straight punches. So not really a hook-heavy attack. He does keep his hands down, so he is pretty hittable. But again, that cardio is a big issue for Jamie Pickett. And we know how important cardio is in the UFC, especially now more than ever. With Staropoli, he doesn't have the quickest feet, but he does have good, smooth footwork. Again, he's shown me 3 full rounds of cardio. He's shown me dangerous hands late into the third. He's shown me, pretty fluid and dynamic style of stand-up, some explosive hands as well, hard kicks, and a decently fast striker in his own right. I'm actually going to go with Laureano Staropoli on this one. I just think, again, Pickett, it's going to be the same old story with him. Look decent in round one, low IQ, low cardio, get beaten in rounds 2 and 3. So Laureano Staropoli, as a result, will be my pick. Moving on to fight number 5, we have Tabatha Ricci taking on Maria Oliveira. For Tabatha Ricci, she lost to Manon Fiorot in June. That was her first pro loss. I believe she was stepping up in weight in that fight to 125. Of course, she is a strawweight fighter, so she fights at 115. She's back to her natural weight class for this fight. Serviceable on the feet, decent movement, decent combinations, but her strength is in her ground game. She's a grappler, good smart positional control on top, good submissions. She's definitely a threat when she is on top, and she's definitely a threat when she has you on the ground. For Maria Oliveira, she's making her UFC debut. She last fought in February. She's on a 2-fight win streak. Looks pretty comfortable on the feet, almost has that sort of Muay Thai style. Uses her length in her jabs, decent calf kick, push kicks for distance control. It looks like she can land takedowns, at least on the regional scene. But I mean, again, I mentioned strength of schedule earlier. You look at Maria Oliveira's wins, they're questionable. They're questionable at best in terms of the opponents that she has faced. She's faced a lot of fighters with more losses than wins. If we just pull up some of her wins here, a fighter that was 1-4, a fighter that was 1-3, a fighter that was 0-5, a fighter that was 3-3. She stepped up and faced someone 9-2. She lost. She faced Marina Rodrigues, who was 9-0 at the time on Contender Series. She lost. Then she beat someone who's 0-1. Then she beat somebody who was 0-0. So again, just she's beating the people she's supposed to beat. But at this point, whenever she has stepped up, she has lost. I look at Tabatha Ricci as a step up for her, and I look for Tabatha Ricci to get the victory here. So Tabatha Ricci is going to be my pick in this one. I just think she's the better overall fighter.
Yeah, I'm not confident here. I think both of these are can crushers. Both of them haven't fought anyone. I think both have. Actually, Oliveira has fought Marina Rodrigues and Kana Asakura, one in Rise and in the Contender Series. But as far as wins, both of them haven't beaten anyone that's good. And when I look at Tabatha Ricci, she's actually hasn't fought anyone good aside from Manon Fiorot, and she got destroyed in that fight. Aside from that, everyone that she's fought either is making a debut or they have a losing record. So again, I can't really make a judgment here, but this does have the feel like the old school UFC, striker versus grappler, and Royce Gracie versus one of these kickboxers back in the day. It has that feel to me. So I think they're both only good in one area, and it's going to be a striker versus grappler. So I'm going to go grappler to get this win. I'm going to go to Tabatha Ricci. But again, there's no way for me to really feel confident here because both of these guys haven't fought anyone. But I have to go with the jiu-jitsu. She's fought in jiu-jitsu tournaments. She's shown us that she does have high-level grappling. And when I look at Oliveira, I'm not sure what she's really, I'm not sure if her striking is that high level. But again, just like was it last week or a couple weeks ago, the smaller fighter, the grappler, couldn't get the bigger fighter on the ground in Mackenzie Dern and Marina Rodrigues. That could happen here if Tabatha can keep it on the feet. I'm sorry, if Maria can keep it on the feet, she'll have a field day striking. But I'm going to go Tabatha Ricci here based on that jiu-jitsu, high level, to get this done. But by no means do I feel confident.
Definitely agreed there. Both of these fighters really weak strength of schedule. So, something's got to give. And yeah, I mean, going on the side of the grappler, I can definitely see that. But who knows? I would say definitely do not bet on this fight. Moving on to fight number 6, we're actually going to skip fight number 6. That is Mason Jones taking on David Onama. Reason being, to be quite honest, the fight was announced minutes before we started recording, and we do not want to give you an ill-informed pick. So we are going to skip over that one. Mason Jones, of course, we know, really good in the stand-up, real sound, good overall boxing, He has that boxing experience. David Onama, we see moving up in weight, at least for this fight, undefeated fighter at 8-0. I think you mentioned an undefeated amateur record as well. So, I mean, we really don't know exactly how good this guy is. And again, just haven't had the ability to do that research prior to recording. And we don't want to give you an ill-informed pick. So we're going to skip over this fight and we're going to go right to the final fight of the prelims, which is Jung Young Park taking on Gregory Rodrigues. How do you feel about this one?
I think this is a good fight here. Good matchmaking here on the UFC side. Obviously, we've seen Gregory Rodrigues put away Dusko Todorovic, win by decision. A pretty dominant win. He pretty much had his way with him. He won the LFA title versus Josh Frem, knocked him out first round. So this guy does have that power. His nickname is RoboCop. He's a bit robotic in his movements, but this guy's like a brick wall. This guy could march you down. He's really, really big, really strong for the division, for middleweight. But when I look at Jun Young Park, I see IQ. This guy is one of the smartest fighters on the roster. His IQ is underrated. This guy will take you to the ground. This guy will strike with you. I think he mixes it up really well here. And I think in this fight, he's going to be able to utilize a grappling approach, similar to his fight versus Tafon Nchukwi and John Phillips. So I like him in this spot. I like his IQ. I think that the grappling is the big advantage to the wrestling part of the grappling. And I think he can get this fight to the mat here and win two or pretty much win all the rounds here. And he's a strong guy as well. So I'm going to go Jun Young Park. He's able to go 3 rounds. Cardio should be on his side. If he can avoid the power, which he's shown he's able to do, he should be able to take this into deep waters and get the win.
Good mention about Park's wrestling specifically because, typically what we've seen from Park prior to these last couple of fights, primarily a boxer, pretty patient striker, good jab, good striking IQ, good overall IQ to the point that you mentioned, good distance control as well. You look at those takedown numbers, very respectable at this point. 3 takedowns per fight. That's 1 takedown per round. That's almost 60% accuracy. So that is definitely something that he can rely on. Gregory Rodrigues, you mentioned he beat Dusko Todorovic in June. 3-fight win streak at this point. Good MMA fighter, good stand-up. He has that grappling as well. A ton of power, pretty big for the division, 6'3". His body is physically big as well, has a ton of power, solid overall striking. He'll look to control the center of the octagon. Good jab, good combination, solid calf kick. We know he's a BJJ black belt. And I think he has good takedown defense. And I think a lot of that has to do with his physical strength. Of course, we saw another physically strong fighter that Jung Young Park faced in Tafon Nchukwi, somebody who didn't have good takedown defense, and Park was able to get him down over and over again. Now, for this fight, I actually think Rodrigues does offer a wider skill set. I think he's a little bit more dangerous. I think he has a little bit more tools. And of course, that's going to go up against Jung Young Park's IQ. But with Park kind of primarily being a boxer, I can see that Rodrigues could potentially hang with him with the boxing. Maybe not be better on the feet, but I think he can hang with him. And I think Rodrigues will be able to defend the takedown and even land his own. I mean, we see Rodrigues at 2.5 per fight. Granted, very short UFC sample size, but nonetheless. And I think Rodrigues, of course, being the BJJ black belt, you have to at least assume he has the grappling advantage. Good match, like you said, good matchmaking, very good fight, very interesting fight. Not sure how I feel about actually putting some coin on this, but if I am going to make a pick, I'm actually going to go with the underdog again. I'm going with Gregory Rodrigues. Again, bit of a wider skill set. I'm going to rely on him to defend the takedown, and I think he's a little bit more dangerous just as an overall fighter. So yeah, I'm going to go with the underdog, Gregory Rodrigues. But we're going to take this to Vegas. We're going to see how we feel in terms of some picks we would consider putting money on. Or technically, let's start with, of course, the underdog that we feel maybe has the best shot at winning. Who are you looking at?
You can go first. I'll let you go. I'll pass this one off to you.
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of the underdog for me, There was two of them that I mentioned. I mentioned Worthy. I mentioned Gregory Rodrigues as well. But I wouldn't, be confident enough to even choose Worthy for this underdog that has the best shot at winning. So I'm just going to simply stick with Gregory Rodrigues plus 100. Flip your money. It is potentially worth a bet. It is worth looking at, how they look while they're walking to the ring. If you're really feeling Rodrigues at that time, I might put a little bit of coin on him in that moment. So Rodrigues plus 100. That's going to be my underdog pick.
All right. I'm going to roll with Jamie Pickett.
Jamie Pickett. So Jamie Pickett plus 200. Again, you've definitely heard the reasons as to why Jamie Pickett could be an underdog that has an opportunity of winning. Not too mad at that at all. In terms of parlay picks, who are you taking a look at?
Parlay wise, I'm going to roll with John Young Park. And I'm going to roll with Livinha Souza.
So those two fights will be a plus 224. $100 will return 324, and for our bigger bettors, $250 will return 810. For me, if I'm taking a look at which two fights I'm considering, I'm also looking at Livinha Souza minus 125. Again, I really like the odds there. And in some ways, I want to say that's the only one, but I'm going with the grappler. Two fighters who are very unproven. I'm going with the grappler and Tabatha Ricci. Plus 160 for that. $100 will return 260. For our bigger bettors, $250 will return 650. We're going to wrap it up there. Of course, that has been our prelim prediction video for UFC Fight Night, Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori. As usual, subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up on this video, hit that notification bell as well so you know when we come out with our latest videos. And most importantly, we want to hear from you in the comments. How do you feel about our picks? Who is your underdog? How do you feel about our underdogs? How do you feel about our parlays? And of course, if you have a specific parlay in mind, or if you want additional insights on any one particular fight, let that be known in the comments, and we'll be more than happy to provide you with some additional insight. But we're going to officially wrap up there. Again, this has been the UFC Vegas 41, aka UFC Fight Night, Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vettori prelim card prediction video by yours truly here at Boxing MMA Picks. He goes by the name of Zan. I go by the name of Harris. And as usual, let's get this money.
Let's get it.